We now present For the Record.
Welcome to For the Record. I'm Will Keneally. For the first time since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, abortion is once again legal in Wisconsin. That's according to a Dane County judge who ruled on Tuesday that the state's 1849 law, widely thought to outlaw abortion, applied instead to feticide. Now, reaction quickly poured in this week. Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin had already worked to reopen their abortion clinics in Madison and Milwaukee ahead of this week's ruling. They now say that they will soon reopen their remaining clinic in Sheboygan. We turn first this week to Michelle Velasquez, Planned Parenthood Wisconsin's advocacy director, about how this ruling impacts the group's work. We spoke earlier this week. And thanks so much for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So what's your initial reaction to the judge's decision tonight?
So the decision is really consistent with the court's earlier rulings. And so it really is the decision that we've anticipated coming from the court. But of course, we're still really thrilled to have this resolved at least in Dane County Circuit Court, and are hopeful that the court's decision really instills maybe some confidence in other healthcare providers and systems around the state, and offers them the reassurance that abortion is not illegal in Wisconsin and that they can provide the full scope of reproductive health care to their patients without fear of prosecution.
So your organization had already started performing abortions in Milwaukee and Dane counties. How will tonight's decision affect your work going forward?
So going forward, we hope to resume services as soon as possible in Sheboygan, which is another county we provided in prior to the Dobbs decision. And when we resumed, we focused on Milwaukee and Madison simply because of availability of staffing and capacity to provide the scopes that we wanted to be able to provide in those two locations. And so hopefully now we'll have some additional providers and be able to shift to resuming care in Sheboygan. But the decision today doesn't do an awful lot to change the operations. As you noted, we resumed care in September. But moving forward, there's still a lot of work to do. And what I mean by that is while we celebrate this decision and we think it's the correct decision and we're thrilled, we still don't have a protection for abortion in Wisconsin. And so really that's sort of the next step. We need to protect abortion access and really work to expand that access as well.
If you don't mind me asking, what's the path forward for that?
So there's really two paths to achieve protection and expansion of abortion. One would be a legislative path. So the state legislature could pass a law that sort of affirmatively states that there's a right to abortion. There could be a constitutional amendment, and by that I mean a ballot initiative could be put forward for the voters. That would be the legislative path to protecting abortion. The legal path to protecting abortion would really be for a court in Wisconsin, ultimately the Wisconsin Supreme Court, to interpret Wisconsin's constitution as already enshrining the right to access abortion. And then beyond that, when I'm talking about expanding abortion access, I'm really talking about repealing some of the laws on our books that make Wisconsin one of the most restrictive states. So even prior to the Dobbs decision, Wisconsin was considered one of the more restrictive states when it came to abortion access because of sort of the slew of laws, including, a prohibition of the use of telemedicine, waiting periods, mandatory ultrasounds, physician only, same physician, etc. So really looking at repealing those laws, either legislatively or challenging those laws in court.
Now, because we've had here in Wisconsin kind of an on-again, off-again series of rulings on abortion, I'm curious about a chilling effect for people seeking abortions. Are they already accustomed to not getting those here?
So I think that people, weren't always aware that abortion wasn't accessible in Wisconsin until they needed an abortion. However, since we've made our announcement and resumed services back in September, I don't have exact numbers, but what I can say is that within 24 hours of making that announcement, all of the appointments that were available were filled, and we're currently scheduling about 2 weeks out. So that just really demonstrates that this is healthcare that people need all the time. It's routine, it's safe, and hopefully with this ruling, other healthcare systems will feel the confidence and have the reassurance that they need to know that they will not be prosecuted for providing this essential healthcare to their patients.
The lawsuit itself targets 3 Wisconsin district attorneys from the 3 counties that house abortion clinics in Wisconsin. Now, in the wake of Tuesday's decision, the Republican DA from Sheboygan County announced that he would appeal the lower court's ruling. This likely sets the case up to be heard before the state Supreme Court, which has a new liberal majority. We spoke with Howard Schwaber, an expert on constitutional law, about where the case goes from here.
I think it's really important to recognize this is not legally significant, it's politically significant. So back in September, we already had a Wisconsin judge determine that the 1849, the old abortion statute, isn't really an abortion statute at all. It's a ban on feticide. Feticide is, imagine if you shot a pregnant woman in the stomach, or in a car accident that caused a miscarriage, or had industrial accidents that resulted in the loss of a pregnancy. Right? These are all very different from a medical procedure in which the woman consents and the doctor's involved. So we already had a ruling that said this old law didn't apply to what nowadays we call abortion. That did not mean we were thrust into chaos. There's a 1985 statute in Wisconsin that comported what was then the U.S. Supreme Court precedent and said the state there was a right to abortion up to the point of viability, and after that there can be restrictions. Of course, the U.S. Supreme Court in Dobbs overruled Roe versus Wade and said this is no longer secured by the U.S. Constitution. So the really big question for everyone involved in this issue is, what does our local state constitution involve? And that's what this lawsuit and this ruling is about. This is basically a vehicle to get this question to the state Supreme Court.
While the Dane County decision was heralded by some, many pro-life groups were frustrated by the decision. And joining us now is Gracie Skogman, the Legislative and PAC Director for Wisconsin Right to Life, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Will.
So I want to start with your initial reaction to that Tuesday decision.
We are, of course, disappointed, but we're also very concerned about the reasoning in this decision. This law was in effect in our state for over 100 years. So we have a lot of precedent to go on, and we're just very concerned how the judge came to this determination based on that historical precedent.
And it's been a little more than a year now since the Dobbs decision. So you had a decision that re-invoked the state's abortion ban, and then a decision now that has gone back to pre-Dobbs scenario here in Wisconsin. What has your organization been kind of doing in that post-Dobbs, kind of this interim place here?
We have been ramping up our efforts to support women here in the state. So we offer emergency grants, for example, for housing for women who want to carry their pregnancy to term, but maybe they have an insecure housing situation. So that's where we're focusing, is partnering with pregnancy resource centers here in the state to ensure that women have what they need to choose life for their children.
And so we're assuming that this decision will be appealed.
Yes.
It's already started with one of the plaintiffs in the case, or the defendants in the case, looking to appeal this. Is there any role that you or other pro-life groups will be taking in that appeal process at all?
We're looking at all of our options currently. But as of today, our focus does remain at the pregnancy resource centers. I spoke with one today. They continue to see an increase in clients even this week. They're seeing larger numbers than ever before. So we know that there's a need. We know that there are women here in our state who are in need of critical support. And truthfully, I think we can find bipartisan solutions for some of that. So that's where we are focused.
Gracie Skogman, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Will.
And when we come back, the Dobbs decision had wide-ranging impacts on the healthcare system here in Wisconsin, including one doctor who moved her practice across state lines. We'll sit down with Dr. Kristen Lyerly, who's at the center of the Dane County lawsuit, right after this.
This portion of News 3 Now is sponsored by Madison Gas and Electric. MG&E, building your community energy company for the future through the power of working together. Committed to cleaner, more sustainable energy, driven by innovation, fostered by shared values. Visit mge2050.com.
Are record energy costs putting a squeeze on your fixed or limited incomes? With inflation rising at record levels and incomes not keeping pace, you might be one of tens of thousands of Wisconsin residents who are struggling to survive in the blistering heat of summer or the bitter cold of winter. While you haven't asked for it, the Keep Wisconsin Warm Cool Fund and your local energy assistance providers are here to help. No Wisconsin resident should ever have to face the challenge of living without heat or power or face homelessness. For a hand up, apply today and call 1-800-506-5596. That's 800-506-5596. Or visit www.kwwf.org.
Oh my Bob, you gotta feel these pillows.
Oh my Bob.
Oh my Bob, look at these low prices.
Oh my Bob, we could finally have a grown-up bedroom.
Oh my Bob, it's comfy and has cup holders.
Oh my Bob, no hovering salespeople.
Oh my Robert. What? Too formal?
When you get the values you deserve without the holiday hassle, there's only one thing to say.
Oh my Bob!
Bob's Discount Furniture.
MG&E, building your community energy company for the future through the power of working together. Committed to cleaner, more sustainable energy, driven by innovation, fostered by shared values. Visit mge2050.com.
Welcome back. Resuming the state's abortion ban has had wide-ranging impacts on the state's healthcare system. That included patients, but also doctors as well. And in Sheboygan County, where the Republican DA said that he would enforce the state ban, that caused Dr. Kristen Lyerly to move her practice over fears of prosecution. That also led her to join a lawsuit against the Sheboygan DA, the same lawsuit that this week threw out the state's abortion ban. Joining us now from Green Bay is Dr. Kristen Lyerly. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Will.
So what was your initial reaction to the news Tuesday night? How did you first find out?
I got a text from my legal team saying, we won. And I was absolutely thrilled. I had to just put everything down and just take a few breaths. It's been a long road.
Now, we were talking a little bit off air. You have moved your practice since to Minnesota. I want to go back to after that Dobbs decision. When you talk about that fear of prosecutions, what were some of those changes post-Dobbs that you had to face?
Well, after Dobbs, we immediately shut down all abortion care in Wisconsin. And by abortion care, it was so poorly defined. I mean, this law is from 1849. So we didn't know about ectopic pregnancies and miscarriages and a lot of these other things that are very closely related to abortion care. And providers, not just OBGYNs, but emergency medicine providers and family medicine providers and midwives, we were all very worried about what we could do for our patients and what we could be in danger for doing for our patients. So we tried to define that, and we continued to do that throughout the time that we were under this, this vector of prosecution. But for me personally, because I've been so outspoken and so visible, I didn't feel that it was safe for me to practice here in Wisconsin. So I've been practicing in parts of rural Minnesota and also on the Navajo Nation in Arizona, providing just general OBGYN care.
So you're also in a different position from someone like the Attorney General, who is also part of the suit. You're directly impacted by this decision. So how, after Tuesday, has this decision changed your practice?
At this point, it hasn't changed my practice because I've been able to provide full scope care, and I've needed to provide full scope care, including abortion care, even in rural parts of the country. However, it has changed the practice of my colleagues who are here in Wisconsin. And I can tell you the people who I've talked to have been overjoyed knowing that they can focus on their patients, what their patients need, providing evidence-based care, and just really not having to worry about being prosecuted, being thrown in jail, losing their medical license and their livelihood for taking care of their patients, for doing the right thing.
Now, the judge sided with you, but didn't give you everything you were asking for. She stopped short of issuing an injunction against the DAs from enforcing that law. How important was that aspect to you? Are you satisfied with the declaratory judgment as is?
I am satisfied. The injunction was really more of a belt and suspenders approach. But what ended up happening was everyone agreed to abide by Judge Schlipper's ruling. So we didn't need the injunction, and that's why abortion is legal now in Wisconsin.
I've heard that Planned Parenthood expects to provide abortion services again in Sheboygan County very soon. From your colleagues, have you heard what this will look like kind of in Wisconsin, in northeastern Wisconsin going forward?
I haven't heard yet. It's only been a short period of time, but I know that we are very enthusiastic, not only about resuming care in Sheboygan, but about resuming care all over the state. Because remember, although we don't have abortion clinics across the state, abortions are performed in hospitals and clinics across the state for things like miscarriages and very complicated pregnancies. And these are the heartbreaking stories of people, families who are they're so challenged with the scenarios that they're facing. And they've been having to travel to Chicago, to Minnesota to receive this care. Now they'll be able to receive the care at home where their support people are and where they can be well taken care of.
Now, obviously, after this decision, are you encouraged by it at all? Does that change your calculations to maybe move your practice back here to Wisconsin?
I very much look forward to coming back home. My family's here. My family's been here for 6 generations. So this is where I belong, and I can't wait to start taking care of patients and families back home again.
Now, again, this may still be early yet, but I'm curious what capacity looks like going forward once we've seen this court decision. Do you have a sense of whether Wisconsin's healthcare system is set to start resuming abortion care here in Wisconsin?
I think it's going to be a case-by-case basis. So we've already started resuming abortion care. We started a few months ago in the clinics in Madison and Milwaukee. We've been planning to resume care in Sheboygan. And I would say the health systems across the state are starting to make those plans again. We can't just flip a switch and turn it back on. It requires education. It requires information. And the chilling effect of this law that has really scared providers and patients alike, that will linger. And that's why I really appreciate the opportunity to get the word out that abortion is legal in Wisconsin. We can provide abortion care. We can seek abortion care without fear.
Dr. Kristen Lyerly, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Will.
Now, when we come back, a bipartisan bill was introduced in the state legislature this week that would make it easier for DACA recipients to study and work here in Wisconsin. We'll be right back after this.
Congratulations! It's a new sewing machine from the Electric Needle. It's more accurate than older models and has hassle-free threading. Plus, it comes with free unlimited owner's lessons. Find sewing success at the Electric Needle. Frontage Road off Seminole Highway.
Burning the candle at both ends this holiday season? Well, if it's Z's you need, the holiday sale at Denver Mattress has you covered. And right now, everything is on sale, like the budget-friendly Summit Queen for only $332.49. Or check out Easy Choice Plush or Firm, now just $474.99. Get a $300 gift when you purchase any Tempur-Pedic, plus 5 years, no interest financing, and free shipping right to your doorstep. The holiday sale, on now at Denver Mattress.
If you've ever grilled, you know you can count on propane to make everything great. But did you know propane also powers school buses that produce lower emissions that lead to higher test scores? Or that propane can cut your energy costs at home? It powers big jobs and small ones too. From hospitals to hospitality, people rely on propane, an energy source that's affordable, plentiful, and environmentally friendly for everyone. Get the facts at propane.com/now.
It's here, Wisconsin's newest and most exclusive sports show. Wisconsin Huddle. It's more than just highlights. It's more than X's and O's. It's a dynamic 30-minute weekly special produced for the die-hard fans of Wisconsin athletics. Embark on an exclusive journey into the lives of some of UW's top athletes as we offer an inside look into their world. Watch Wisconsin Huddle Friday nights at 6:30. Brought to you by Ho Chunk Gaming Madison.
Congratulations! It's a new sewing machine from the Electric Needle. It's more accurate than older models and has hassle-free threading. Plus, it comes with free unlimited owner's lessons. Find sewing success at the Electric Needle. Frontage Road off Seminole Highway.
Welcome back. This week, a bipartisan group of Wisconsin legislators introduced a series of bills that would make it easier for DACA recipients to work and study here in Wisconsin. Now, that comes after a lengthy push by Democrats to extend things like Wisconsin driver's licenses to undocumented immigrants. Now, those efforts have traditionally failed, but this bipartisan legislation looks more likely to pass than previous efforts that we've seen. Joining us now to talk about how we got here is Daryl Maureen of Forward Latino. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Yeah, so broadly, I'm curious, how does Wisconsin law treat DACA recipients differently than other Wisconsinites?
Well, and it's really, I don't want to just blame it on Wisconsin. It's something that's actually in the federal statute around DACA. The way DACA was written, it doesn't allow for a DACA recipient to receive any public benefit from the state unless it's explicitly stated in a piece of legislation. So unlike Illinois and Indiana right now, where DACA recipients can get professional licenses, that's not allowed here in Wisconsin. And because of that, we're seeing DACA recipients graduate from teaching colleges and nursing schools and literally have to pick up and move to Illinois so they could practice in their field.
So behind the scenes for this legislation, I'm sure it's been a long time coming for you especially. How did we get here?
Yeah, I think the biggest driver here has been the issue with workforce and the struggles that many companies throughout the state are facing right now. I think we all knew that we were going to see an aging out of the baby boomers and an increase in retirements, but COVID just kind of accelerated everything. So, you know, previous projections said that around this time we were going to have a 45,000 person worker shortage in Wisconsin's workforce. And now I think recent reports are saying it's much more elevated because we're coming out of COVID right now. So everyone is just struggling to find the needing talent, you know, and we have a whole group, thousands literally here. And if we could just unlock that potential, it would go a long way in easing the workforce issues we're having right now.
I was going to say, we talk a lot about those hiring needs in Wisconsin, and especially a brain drain, and kind of a push-pull factor where you see efforts to retain people in Wisconsin, but also to attract new talent to the state. Do you have a sense of how this might, how would it bring new people to Wisconsin?
Well, and I want to give the lead author, Representative John Macco, as well as Representative Sylvia Ortiz Velez credit for this. They put together this whole package of 3 bills. And to Representative Macco's credit, he said he wants to make Wisconsin a magnet for DACA recipients. You know, so the bill does 3 things. One is it allows them to get professional licenses. Number 2 would allow them to get in-state tuition. Right now, DACA recipients aren't eligible for any state or federal financial aid, and we're requiring them to pay out-of-state tuition, creating this huge barrier. So we want to get these people who have the aspirations to be doctors and nurses and teachers, et cetera, into the pipeline, right? And then be able to give them a license once they're done. And lastly, and I think this is where they've gone the extra mile, every 2 years, DACA recipients have to renew, right? They have to do the full series of background checks again. They have to do the new fingerprints, the whole 9 yards, right? So they could renew their DACA status. But there's an expensive charge for that. So there's a small tax credit that they baked into a 3rd bill that would help offset that cost. Once again, trying to not only develop and retain DACA recipients here, but attract them from other states as well.
Curious too if you have a sense of just how many Wisconsinites might be impacted by this.
Well, we think everyone will be, right? Because we know that over like 95% of DACA recipients right now are gainfully employed or in school. Whenever they're allowed to get licenses, obviously their income goes up significantly, which means they can purchase more goods, more services, and pay more taxes. But in total, we're estimating that these bills would impact around 6,500 DACA recipients that we have here in the state right now.
And so I know this is part of a broader push. We talked earlier about those driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants. What more would you want to see accomplished after this?
Well, I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done on the federal level, right? We've heard some people kind of confuse what we're trying to do here with immigration policy, and that's not the case. What we're looking at doing here is saying, hey, we have a set of individuals, thousands of individuals here that are just beginning their prime working age, that are legally able to work here, that can legally have a driver's license. Let's unlock their potential and bring them in. That being said, just like with what former Speaker Paul Ryan was trying to do, I mean, everybody knows that we need to fix our very broken immigration system and open more legal pathways so that people can come here and help grow Wisconsin and our economy. So, you know, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done on the federal level. But as so many Republicans I've been speaking to have said here, you know, if the federal government can't get it done, let's at least do what we can here in our state to make sure that we bolster our economy and improve the quality of life for everyone.
Daryl Maureen, thanks so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
We'll be right back after this.
You're the people who make junk disappear?
We brought a whole truckload of magic.
1-800-GOT-JUNK, I love you.
We make junk disappear. All you have to do is point.
There's a reason big dental bills often come as a shock, because sometimes you don't realize what's not covered until you get the bill. That's why affordable dental insurance from Physicians Mutual is important. It can give you benefits that go beyond what you get from more limited coverage plans. Because no one likes a big dental bill, especially if you're retired or on a fixed income. For a free information kit, call or go online now. This isn't some discount plan or preventive-only coverage. This is real dental insurance that helps cover over 350 procedures, like cleanings, fillings, crowns, bridges, root canals, even dentures, at any dentist you want. Dental insurance from Physicians Mutual Insurance Company helps cover preventive care, basic work, and major procedures, with no deductibles and no annual maximum. For your free information kit with all the details, call now or visit sendinfokit.com.
Physicians Mutual, Physicians Mutual. It's the season of giving, and News 3 Now shows you how people and organizations throughout our community are helping those in need and making holiday wishes come true. Watch News 3 Now for these special stories during this season of giving. Brought to you by Don's Home Furniture.
Let's get real clear. If you have psoriasis and are experiencing joint pain, it could be psoriatic arthritis. Both are believed to be caused by excess inflammation inside the body. Get real with your dermatologist and ask about Real Clear Skin today.
You're the people who make junk disappear?
We brought a whole truckload of magic.
1-800-GOT-JUNK, I love you.
We make junk disappear. All you have to do is point.
And we end today with this. The leaders of the universities of Wisconsin reached a deal with lawmakers to unlock more than $30 million of funding, as well as significant building investments. Now, the deal was struck after a compromise was reached on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs across the state school system. The UW would have to freeze the number of positions and reassign a third of current DEI employees to other work. Now, the UW Board of Regents met yesterday morning to vote on the proposal and by a single vote opt to reject the change. Many of the regents argued that they could get a better deal from state lawmakers.
It's going to get done, and our people are going to get paid. We're in a lawsuit about that, and they're going to get paid, and we're going to work on that. But do not let someone take the first swing of the axe at EDI.
In response to the vote, Assembly Speaker Robin Vos issued a statement saying that it's a shame that the regents have denied employees their raises and almost $1 billion of investment that would have been made across the UW system. Also, that they could continue their ideological campaign to force students to believe only one viewpoint is acceptable on campus. And that does it for us this week. I want to give a quick thank you to everyone who works behind the scenes on the show, including a sad farewell to producer Logan Ragstad, who's been instrumental in getting the show on the air each week. Logan, thank you so much for everything. I'm Will Keneally. Have a great rest of your weekend.
This has been For the Record.